Concurrence of the Senate, I ask the clerks to set the clocks accordingly, and I call Senator David Pocock.
Thank you, President. Behind some of the welcome and big-ticket items in last night's budget, like the new housing accord that aspires to deliver 1 million homes over the next 5 years, expanded childcare subsidies, more paid parental leave and cheaper medicine, there lies a bigger, much more worrying story. A story of rising inflation, rising interest rates, slowing GDP growth, rising unemployment and rising costs of living across the country. The last one is a real killer. A 56% forecast rise in electricity prices, a 44% forecast rise in gas prices, a jump in both groceries and rent. The Treasurer is saying we're unlikely to see a rise in real wages for at least another couple of years. But despite this acknowledgement, the government hasn't done anything in terms of raising the rate for JobSeeker, AusStudy or Commonwealth rent assistance. Now, I absolutely understand and commend the need for responsible economic management, to live within our means, and the many other phrases bandied around this place when it comes to the budget. But equally, I simply don't accept that we can let this crisis continue. The budget is about priorities, and what we've heard from the new Labor government in their first mini-budget is that the 3 million Australians living in poverty are not a priority. The 1 in 6 children across Australia who are growing up in poverty are not a priority to the new government. We have to think about this in terms of the things that we are happy to spend money on. At a time when fossil fuel companies are pulling in record profits, we're still happy to subsidise them. We're still happy to pour money into things like the Middle Arm project, $1.9 billion here, a few billion dollars there for the gas industry. But yet when it comes to Australians in our communities who desperately need the support, we're silent. The government had an opportunity to increase JobSeeker. $48 a day is not enough to live on. We heard the government pat themselves on the back when that was indexed and went from $46 to $48. $48 is still nowhere near enough. And let's be clear, the choices that we make in this place and in the other place are keeping 1 in 6 children across Australia, one of the most wealthy countries in the world, living in poverty. This has huge implications, not just for those kids' future, but for all of our futures, to have 1 in 6 children growing up in poverty, to have 3 million Australians living below the poverty line. We know times are tough. Here in the ACT, our frontline services are stretched to breaking point. Food pantries have massive lines, are battling to get enough staff. People with jobs are struggling. So how do we not support people who are in between jobs, looking for jobs, trying to get their lives back on track and to get back into the labour market? I really implore the government to think more about this. You're governing for the Australian people. You're answerable to those 3 million Australians that, through your decisions, are being left to live on $48 a day. Those 1 in 6 children who are growing up in poverty, whose the rest of their life will be shaped by the experiences of growing up in poverty, of growing up not being able to afford things, of looking at their friends at school and asking, why can't I have that? Why do I have to live like that? These are the choices that we are privileged to make in this place. I implore the government to raise the rate before or at the next budget in May.
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Senator